Hey Wargamers, today I'm here with my friend Gil. He's a long-term Blood Angels player, and I wanted to do a video talking about Blood Angels, and originally this was going to be something talking about what we were going to expect from the upcoming Codex, but considering that we have reviews and a really good idea of what the new Codex looks like, we're not doing that. Instead, we're just going to kind of talk about the state of Blood Angels right now, some impressions about the new Codex, and how Gil, as a long-term Blood Angels player, feels about all that stuff. So, thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and of course, let us know what you think in the comments below. But other than that, Gil, get us started. What's going on with Blood Angels?
They seem to be coming off of a long time kind of just being in a really difficult place, where a lot of the things that they do are slowly either being made more unreliable or being rolled into the general rules. Like in 8th edition, everybody has reliable, accurate deep striking. Everybody gets to attack first on the charge. These are things that Blood Angels or other assault-oriented armies typically had to themselves that now everybody has. And the index, which I have right here just in case I forget something, didn't really give the Blood Angels any tools to make up for that loss, or everybody else's gain, as it were. And then just general oversights, like really badly costed units. Those are being addressed to some degree, and for most of the units anyway. But I'm kind of torn between being really excited and really nervous about the Codex, just on based on the things that I've seen and read. It looks like a lot of the advantages of being an assault army are being rolled into stratagems, which is not at all surprising. And it is kind of exciting to say, hey, I'm going to do this thing right now that's going to make this moment feel really good for me. And
it's going to feel so good.
It's going to feel really good the turn that I get to charge with an average of 10.5 inches on the charge, right?
Yeah, the 10.5 inches, that's it.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to feel less great when the unit that I charge or obliterates is not going to be there to save me from being shot afterward, but I mean, it'll be good. It'll be fun to be able to routinely make charges.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that's like one of the main things, right? Is that Blood Angels, at least at one point had, I don't know, what would you say was like the cream of the crop Blood Angels? Like, when were they the best?
5th edition. 5th edition, definitely. They're really, I liked them in 3rd edition as well, but
yeah.
4th edition, I really liked the PDF Codex we had in 4th edition. That was fun.
Yeah. Well, in 4th edition, a PDF was like the wave of the future.
Yeah, it was great. The Death Company being a reliable unit where you could just take a squad of them with rending attacks, so you just have them walk up to a tank and rip it to pieces with bare hands. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll probably talk about that. You can do that again now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like the thing with Blood Angels was that they used to be just this amazing offensive army, and
they had the Alpha Strike better than anybody else.
Right, they had the Alpha Strike, and now a lot of the things that were essential to that identity have been parsed out and given to everyone, or if not everyone, a large number of people. And so Blood Angels are in this weird place where they're trying to find a new identity in some ways.
Yep. And
trying to find ways to make the army have a niche that's not occupied by, Ultramarines or Space Wolves or Chaos or anything like that. And that's the challenging part of transitioning Blood Angels into 8th edition. And, based on the coverage that we have so far of the new Codex, I think they're doing a fairly good job. There are a lot of things that have undermined Blood Angels' ability to play at the start of 8th. Primarily, I think that's based on point cost. They're just overcosted for what you can do, and they've made some advancements to combat that. But you basically have two options when dealing with an overcosted unit. You can either reduce the point cost to bring it in line with the ability of that unit, or you can improve the utility of that unit to make it worth its points. And I think that in some cases, like for Furiosa Dreadnoughts, they've done a really nice job of bringing the points down to be more in line with their ability. But across the board, they've made their ability of units greater through things like the Red Thirst. So being able to get that extra attack right off the bat is huge in 8th edition.
Yeah, it is. And just on the topic of the Red Thirst, that was one of the really kind of just confusing things about the index for the Blood Angels, is that the Black Rage was in there for one unit, or not just one unit. There's like 3 units that have
all Death
Black
Company.
Rage. Yeah, anything with Death Company in front of it has the Black Rage.
Yeah.
But the Red Thirst, which every Blood Angels Dreadnought or infantry has, was not in the index at all. But that's the #1 identifying marker for the Blood Angels. That was kind of their original chapter tactics before that was the thing. Before they were really good at deep striking, they had the Red Thirst. That's just what they did, going back to 2nd edition. And its absence in the index was really weird. And having that in the game now, and I think this is probably the best version of the Red Thirst that they've ever had, because it's changed over the years through the editions. And it used to be that they just everybody got Furious Charge, so they'd get +1 strength and +1 initiative when they charged. And then in 7th edition, they just got +1 initiative, but they always had Furious, the new Furious Charge in 7th edition, where it was the +1 strength. And if you played with all Blood Angels, you would get the +1 initiative too, and now all that's gone, and so now they have that +1 to wound rolls. But it's not just when they charge, it's when they are charged or whenever they do a heroic intervention as well. So basically, the first round of combat with Blood Angels, they're going to be chopping stuff up all the time.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting, because there's nothing less satisfying than charging somebody with your Death Company and not having anything to show for it by the time it's done. Right. And that's going to be a lot less common now that the Red Thirst is back in the game, and in this version of it is just really exciting for me.
Yeah, so we should clarify that Red Thirst is +1 to wound rolls on the charge, right?
Or when they're charged, or whenever they do a heroic intervention.
Right, so at the first round of combat, no matter what. Which, like we said, is awesome, because you not only have the ability to really wreck face in the situations where you choose to engage, but you're also going to have that ability in the situations where you are caught off guard or are somehow charged against.
Or fail your charge and then get countercharged.
Right, yeah. You're still going to have some ability, which is really nice. It's in some ways it's a nice counter to not having initiative be part of the game anymore. Like with initiative, if you were charged and you had a higher initiative, you still went first. Now Blood Angels can still get an advantage in close combat even if they didn't charge, which is awesome. And the old version where you just were +1 strength in 8th edition, +1 strength would really not be that impressive.
Yeah, that's really just kind of all right.
Yeah, it has a really minor influence, right? Because if you're going from strength 4 for like an Assault Marine to strength 5,
it'll affect your rolls like a fifth of the time at best.
Right. It'll affect your rolls against other power armor armies. So if you're charging another toughness 4 unit, that's going to that would affect it there. Or if you were attacking a strength or a toughness 5 unit, it would make a difference. But otherwise, it wouldn't. Or a toughness, it would make a difference more often than that. But still, like being able to just modify your
against anything
is really important. So like on a charge, Assault Marine is now effectively strength 8 against other well, against other things. So it basically moves you from a 4 to a 5, which, guys, all right, I need to drink more of this one.
Yeah. The caffeine is getting to you.
Yeah, that caffeine.
Brain is going faster than your mouth can keep up.
I know. It moves you in the right direction, though, right? So that is really important. And then the Black Rage is it an extra attack? What is it?
It's an extra attack and a 6+ feel no pain.
Right. And anything that gives you a feel no pain type save is just that much better in 8th, because it's, well, at the beginning of 8th there was few and far between. Now there's some armies that have that pretty consistently. but still, with the way that the math works out, having that extra feel no pain is really good. And I think that's one of the things to keep in mind with Blood Angels is, even if there's an ability that seems like a modified version of something they've had in the past, that was in the past. Like, things are not, it's not the same game anymore. So it doesn't matter if it's like a weaker version of a rule they had before or something like that. What matters is how it relates to the other units in the game now under 8th edition, and I think it does really well. So, what do you think going forward are like the winners and losers? What types of things are you excited for, and what types of things are you less excited or not very enthusiastic about?
I guess I'll talk about the stuff I'm not enthusiastic about at first.
Yeah.
Just because we'll get that out of the way, and then we can talk about all the awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm really down on Bale Predators.
Mm-hmm.
That probably more than anything else is really disappointing for me, because that was actually the model that got me into the Blood Angels 13 years ago,
mm-hmm.
I think. I loved the idea of having a tank that had huge Gatling guns on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first tank that I bought with my Blood Angels army, and it is my favorite tank in the game, and it has, since the 7th edition book, just been, alright. It has a job that it does, and it does it just fine, but there's usually something else that does it better. And so, yeah, you could field it, and it will do its job, but if you're really, trying to get the most bang for your point budget, then that's never going to be the option you pick. Mm-hmm. And that's still kind of an issue for it, because if you're just trying to get as much firepower as you can, then a Razorback does the job almost as well as the Bale Predator does, and the Razorback is a lot cheaper. But the Bale Predator has the Lucifer engines, mm-hmm. just naturally, so that's something that in the 5th edition book, all of the Blood Angels Rhino chassis tanks
mm-hmm.
they were all fast, which was really cool. And then that was taken out for 7th edition for most of them. And it's back in a sense now with the stratagems, where any non-flying, non-dreadnought vehicle the Blood mm-hmm. Angels have, I think it's for 1 command point, they can increase their movement by 6. Mm-hmm. And the Bale Predator gets to increase its movement by 6 plus d6, just to kind of reflect that it's got those engines still. And so that's really cool. It helps a little bit to, it might help a lot a bit to get it in range to actually use its guns, because all of its guns are really short, mm-hmm. like really short range guns.
Yeah, what's the deal? So what's the deal with the flamer on? Because it has a flamer, right? There's a flamer option.
Yep.
So
yeah,
what's
the Flamestorm cannon.
Yeah, Flamestorm cannon. What's the? Do you remember what the profile is on that?
Nope, I don't. But I've got this right here.
But it's Flamestorm, so it has to be good.
Yeah, well, it's a really satisfying one to use. It's just really short range. So let's see here. Is it in?
Yeah, it should be range 8 probably, right?
I think it is range 8.
Just like most flamers.
It's just like a flamer.
Yeah.
It's just a really big flamer.
Is it like strength 5 -1 AP or?
It is heavy D6, strength 6 -2 AP, and it's got inflicts 2 wounds.
Okay, so that's
it's great.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's a really great weapon, but it's range 8 on a tank.
Right.
So it's really easy to take that tank down before it gets in range.
Right.
But the speed of the Bale Predator and the Lucifer stratagem will help mitigate the risk of driving that thing straight up to the enemy. And
did you say it's heavy?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep.
It'd be really cool if it was assault, because then you could just, because it can get like, I don't know, is it like 36 inches potentially you could get out of that if you use all the stratagems? Or
if you use the stratagem, advanced with it, and use the and just didn't shoot and just went.
Right.
You could go 2d6. Let's see here. So that'd be 12, 24, 30. Yeah, I think you could get 36 inches of movement with it if you use the stratagems and got good rolls and everything.
Right. So if it was assault, though, you could advance and still shoot it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which, a 36 inches plus 8 so 44 inches is your threat range potentially with that. If you could shoot it, would be really awesome.
Yep.
But you can't. So it does. That seems like a misstep. Like there was an opportunity there to really make that shine if it was an assault weapon.
Which is just as a statement, a really good way of describing the way the Blood Angels have been for the last 3 editions.
Just a misstep. Like
it's so close to being awesome, but it's just it missed the target by a little bit, and everything is just kind of all right instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Bale Predator is the #1 thing that makes me sad, because I really want to use it. Like I said, it's my favorite tank. I love the idea of everything the Bale Predator is. It's just hard to justify doing it.
Yeah.
But it's a fun thing to use, and it's really satisfying when you get to use the thing. Like when it gets to fire its weapons and kill stuff, it's so much fun. But like I said, if you're trying to get the most bang for your point budget, then a Razorback is going to do the job almost as well for a lot cheaper.
Largely because of the range, right?
The Razorback, you can give it the twin-linked assault cannons, which is the option with the Bale Predator that I like more. The Flamestorm cannon is awesome, but anyway, the Razorback can get a lot of the same guns, and it's going to move just as fast. It has 1 less wound, and it can carry people, and it costs like 40 points less. So
there's that.
Yeah. It's I mean, that's like the most obvious issue. That's really what it comes down to, is that they seem to have taken the Bale Predator costs just as much as a regular Predator, if I remember everything correctly. But the problem is that the regular Predator is effective from anywhere from 2 feet to 4 feet away, and it doesn't need to move to be effective, whereas the Bale Predator has to, like we just discussed, basically burn everything to get in range, and then it can't shoot. Right.
And you can only take 1 Predator per unit now, right? You can't. Yeah,
there's
not
take
squadrons.
Yeah, there's not the squadron anymore.
So it's that's too bad, because it would be really nice, even if it was, as it is, a heavy weapon, the Flamer. If you could have 3 Predators in a unit and then boost them all up there, that would be that would be a problem. Probably stay around.
Yeah, that would be a problem for whoever's on the other end of those Predators.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, even if you just took 1 dude up there, he could, if you zoomed him up to the right spot, he probably would be fine. But if you zoom him up next to some plasma guns or a las cannon or something like that, that's not going to last long enough for you to use it.
Or you've got to convince your opponent that there's something else that's way scarier, that's just as close. Which is sometimes hard to do. Right. But if you were able to do that, then you could say goodbye to any of the bubble wrap your characters have, because they would be gone. So that's the #1 thing. There's a couple other things based on some of the reviews that I've read or seen. A lot of the options for chaplains and sanguinary priests are gone. Evidently, you can't give a sanguinary priest a jump pack anymore, which is a huge bummer, because I loved having a sanguinary priest with the Angel's Wing back in 7th edition, and in 8th edition I used a sanguinary priest with a jump pack. So I can still do that with the Index, which... I don't think that... I haven't read anything about the sanguinary priest points being too terribly different, so that probably won't be a huge deal. Right. But it is kind of a weird omission to have in the book, when that's just I mean, it's really nice to be able to do that. So it's kind of a bummer that the book is incomplete in that sense. There's a couple other things, like the standard Dreadnought is apparently missing a lot of its weapon options for no real apparent reason, but once again, the index is there. You've got to use those costs, which are a little higher. But that's basically all the stuff that makes me sad. Well, I suppose the special characters kind of make me sad a little too.
Right. Because there is an opportunity to... So, for one thing, like with the War Gear options, like for the Sanguinary Priest, there wasn't a Sanguinary Priest with jump pack model, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of how Games Workshop has been doing this, is they really want to they want to reconcile the rules with the models, and that, that makes sense for the most part. It makes things a lot easier for hobbyists, but how many people converted their Sanguinary Priest to have the Sanguinary Guard, jump pack? Probably a lot of people.
And I know I'm not alone.
Right.
It looks awesome. That is the coolest jump pack in the game.
It is.
Why would you not want to use that?
It is. It is awesome. And so I think there's a lot of people out there that are in that same boat. And fortunately, you can use the index for that option. But there are other things like the Dreadnoughts where the weapons are in the kit that are just for some reason excluded, which makes less sense. Like, it makes sense that there is a logic behind the Sanguinary Priest thing. There's probably a logic behind the Dreadnought thing too, but it's a different one that isn't very obvious.
It's something that must be going on in Games Workshop somewhere that nobody else understands. They've got a reason that they haven't shared with us.
Yes. Well, Blood Angels are very secretive, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. It's probably...
I think you're confusing us with Dark Angels, man.
It's all chaos.
No. That's alternative facts.
Yes, that's an alternative fact. But yeah, so whatever. But
yeah. So yeah, that's basically the bad stuff about the Codex, based on what we know so far, is just some of the points issues that kind of need to be addressed haven't been, or have been partway, but they could probably have gone a little farther. But overall, pretty good in that sense. A couple units like the Bale Predator have a niche that is not really well realized for one reason or another. And there's a couple just weird omissions in the book based on what we've seen so far. And that's, I guess, par for the course. I mean, that's always kind of been a thing. Like, back when the 7th edition book came out, and the Blood Angels got their specific tactical squad box with the heavy flamers, and everybody wanted to have heavy flamer devastators, but that wasn't an option, and then it was.
It wasn't, but then it was.
Yeah, it wasn't, but then it was for everybody that isn't Blood Angels.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's the bad stuff.
Yeah. And one of the things you just mentioned though too was the characters.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
the characters. Like in the index, there's a really heavy reliance on characters, which are expensive and.
Yep.
But if you bring multiple characters, and this has kind of been like the MO for any like Frontline Gaming or Games Workshop army list has been just bring like 5 characters and your army is super awesome, which is true, but you're pigeonholed to bring these characters, so they're almost like an auto include in every list, and that's not very fun if you have to bring one set of dudes every time.
That is a really good thing to bring up, because I had completely gotten past that, but now I'm having like flashbacks.
Yeah. Have more of your other beverage.
Yeah. When the hold on.
It's better.
All right, we're good. So back when the index was first coming out, and they did the previews for all the armies, like some of the armies had really good previews, and the Blood Angels got a paragraph along with the Dark Angels, the Space Wolves, the Grey Knights, like all the Space Marine armies that have their own books, all got about a paragraph or two talking about what it is that they did. And Games Workshop's paragraph for the Blood Angels was basically, hey, you love Death Company. We love Death Company. Your Death Company are still good, and they're going to be really good if you give them a chaplain and a librarian and you give them power swords. So if you take your Death Company squad and you give them like 400 points worth of upgrades, they're going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of the thing. But more specifically about the vision of the auras that the Blood Angels were, the idea that they had was they had all these characters that gave auras to buff the army, and if you overlap the auras, you'd have these huge, really powerful units. Was that all of the Blood Angel characters had one aura each, and all the auras were good auras. But then you look at, the Dark Angels, just as a comparison, the Interrogator Chaplain has 3 auras.
Right.
And they're all equally good as any of the auras that the Blood Angel characters had. So it was really confusing to say, well, Dark Angels can bring an Interrogator Chaplain and get the auras that Lamartez, Asterath, and I think it was Corbulo, I don't know, another Blood Angels character. 3 characters worth of auras on a 130-point Interrogator Chaplain. So there was a weird kind of hey, this is what our idea is, and it wasn't really fully realized or really thought about, or at least that's what it seemed like.
Right.
And based on everything we've seen so far, it seems like they were like, oh yeah, you know what, that wasn't a really great idea, so we're just going to go back to the, we're not going to do auras anymore. You're still going to have them, but yeah, this is an assault army, so we're going to, give you the tools to be an assault army.
Right. Well, and so that's still the case. You still have these auras, but I think a lot of the army special rules, like Red Thirst and Black Rage, and the stratagems alleviate the need to bring those characters.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yep.
Just
characters, auras.
Yeah.
So one of the things that people were talking about, Blood Angels players, about how to work the index so that everything worked as best it could anyway, was to take Lamartez and Death Company, and Lamartez gives them the reroll charges to give you some reliability that you're otherwise lacking. And one of the stratagems now makes it so that you don't necessarily need to bring Lamartez to make sure that your Death Company make it. Because the Descent of Angels stratagem, which is, the Descent of Angels rule before was what they allowed them to reroll their reserves and, deep strike D6 inches instead of 2d6 inches, all that awesome stuff. Now gives them 3 dice when they charge. So 10.5-inch average charge range, deep strike 9 inches away. You're pretty much in there.
Yeah, so on average, you're going to make it in out of deep strike, which is one of the things that we were looking for in this codex, was some way to make you able to make that charge on average.
And I think that making that a stratagem is a really good way to do that, because I think if I remember what everything has said so far, it's 2 command points, so it's going to be costly. So you're not going to be able to do it all the time, which I think is important, but it's going to give Blood Angels that window of opportunity early in the game to get in the opponent's face and do some damage before they get shot full of holes.
Right.
Which is one of the issues that they had before.
Right. But now being able to, consolidate into other units, that's going to really help with that, because you can deep strike, charge, and then if you wipe out the opponent, or even if you don't, depending on how you, how
many people you declare that charge against.
Well, how many people you declare the charge against, and also how you position your units, because when you consolidate, it has to be to the closest enemy unit. And if you charge into a unit and you have a large enough charging unit that you're able to have guys closer to enemy units, you can consolidate into those units. Now, if you didn't declare them as a charged target, of course you can't swing against them, but it's a way that you can kind of roll through the enemy lines and not have to necessarily face as much overwatch or anything like that. And if they don't have fly, you prevent them from shooting. So this fundamental change in how charging works really benefits a deep strike army that can make it in off of deep strike.
So there's that. Something that just came to mind, which I know I've heard or read somebody mention it before, that is really exciting, going back to the Lucifer Pattern Engines stratagem, is using Land Raider Redeemers with the Flamestorm Cannon, which can fire the Flamestorm Cannon after moving and all that.
Right.
So
there you go.
Yeah, driving your Land Raider, just a wall of Redeemers rolling up the battlefield. that would seem like that would be a time to use Terminators in there.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be something that they're pushing is, Blood Angels have the Archangels, which they've always had, but they seem to have been really pushing the idea that Blood Angels have the first company is all Terminators, which is not a really new idea, but it's not something that they really focused on ever.
Right.
For really any reason until
you had that super
7th edition.
awesome, super awesome formation that wasn't that great.
Yeah, you had that super awesome formation that required you to take a ton of Terminators.
Right.
Or a
at
ton
a time
of
that
Dreadnoughts.
Terminators were at their peak, not effectiveness.
Yes. Yep. So
They were
and it gave you the ability to deep strike using essentially Blood Angel's deep strike rules,
Right.
which is reliably and right away.
Right.
But Terminators weren't great. Mm-hmm. So but they. Which I guess this also rolls into the inclusion of Cataphracti and Tartarus Terminators. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just a wall. I like that visual. The wall of Redeemers just cruising down the battlefield with Terminators in there.
Yeah.
And then that would probably be a great place to put Cataphracti Terminators. Throw those in the Redeemers. Have the Redeemers just cruise down the battlefield. Burn up like 3 command points in one turn.
Yeah.
And just get 3d6 or. The Descent of Angels doesn't work for those guys. So they would still just have the 2d6 charge range. But still.
That you can still make that work.
Yeah, there's... it's probably not an effective strategy, but it'd be fun.
It would be fun. And I think that's one of the underlying themes of the new Codex is it's probably not going to be top tier, but it's definitely going to be fun.
Yes.
So,
there's going to be a... So the Blood Angels have always been kind of an all-or-nothing army, at least since 5th edition, where you are going to get in and just wreck face, or you're not going to get in and your face is going to get wrecked.
You're going to get it or you're going to get got.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And this book is more of that, but they have given tools to the Blood Angels so that they are going to have the opportunities that they haven't had for 3 editions. And that's really exciting.
Right.
So, yeah, Assault's still not going to be a great strategy, but it is way more fun than shooting, in my opinion. And it is really satisfying when you get into, an enemy gun line with Death Company or Sanguinary Guard and just carve them up.
I don't know. I think I disagree. I think Assault is still I think Assault in some ways can be a more viable strategy for Blood Angels just because of the perks they get in close combat. But also... the stratagems that they have facilitate that alpha strike, and if you bring a large enough unit for that alpha strike, and you're able to tie up multiple enemy units in close combat, that's all you need in order to get all your other units positioned for turn 2. So if you can tie up enough of the enemy unit turn 1, even if you don't do that much damage, if you can tie them up and prevent them from shooting the next turn, you can get into close combat really effectively on turn 2. And again, having Red Thirst, Black Rage, these things are going to really amplify the amount of damage that you do and make close combat relatively short for Blood Angels units.
Well, you got to use the tools at your disposal, right? If you're playing Blood Angels, your unique units are going to assault because that's all they do.
Right.
The rest of the army plays just like Space Marines. Wait. Yeah, Blood Angels are Space Marines.
Space Marines are Space Marines.
Yeah, newsflash. Like Ultramarines,
right?
Or Imperial Fists, or any of the really just normal Space Marine chapters. But they've kind of got that dichotomy going where, like most of their units, you aren't going to use any differently than you would use any other Space Marine army. Mm-hmm. But kind of like Space Wolves, they've got their unique units. Well, Space Wolves have a bunch of unique units that are basically analogs to regular Space Marine units. But they've got their unique units that don't do anything but assault. And that's something that I think is actually a lot of fun with the way that GW has been pushing the design for the Blood Angels. Is the Death Company used to be really effective with bolt guns because they had Relentless back in 5th, 6th, 7th edition. So you'd be walking around with Death Company with bolt guns because they could shoot their guns and then charge. And the way that the Black Rage worked then, they still got 4 attacks on their charge, but they also got to rapid fire their bolt guns into whatever they were charging before they did it. Which was effective and fun, but it wasn't really, I guess, narratively cohesive. Because the whole thing with the Death Company is they're just supposed to be like frothing at the mouth, just like insane.
They make death your company. That's why they're called that.
That should be edited out. But it was effective, and it was fun, but it didn't make sense. And now they've got it so that you can bring bolt guns, but you can bring 2 chainswords instead. Right. And that just makes way more sense. Yeah. Or just a plasma pistol and a chainsword or something like that.
But chainswords, the extra attack is nice.
Well, that's having a chainsword keeps the Death Company where the Death Company were before, but having 2 chainswords takes them up a notch. Yeah. Or like just a chainsword and a power sword or something like that. Right. Like there's a lot that you can do there.
Swords are good.
Yeah, Death Company loves swords. They love fists and hammers too. Usually sparingly, but they still love them. You can never complain with having 1 power fist or thunder hammer. Although with the new Red Thirst, that's going to be a lot less important. Right. So
exactly, yeah. Which I think is
save points on thunder hammers. People.
Right. You don't have to take a thunder. You can. There's built-in versatility and opportunity for greater effectiveness because you don't have to invest in a thunder hammer to be,
And you're not screwed over when your thunder hammer guy inevitably dies before he actually gets to close combat.
Right. So it's I really like the Red Thirst. I think it's in some ways it's a subtle change, but it's a really
it's a rule
really pervasive impact.
Yeah, it's a in previous editions it would not have been a big deal. It is essentially in previous editions what it is would be +1 strength. Right. In most cases.
This is so much better.
Yeah, but with the way that wounding works in 8th edition, it is dramatically better.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think that's the central thing that we talk a lot about on my channel, right? Is that the way that wounding scales in 8th edition makes subtle changes to your ability to... subtle changes to your dice rolls that much more important. So I really do like that. Let's talk about the unit that I got super excited about right before we filmed this.
Yeah.
The Librarian Dreadnought.
Which everybody is jealous of. And has been for years. And I've been seeing a lot of people on the internet saying, all right, well now Blood Angel's got Cataphracti and Tartaros and the Storm Talon and... all these things that were previously just Codex Space Marine specific units. So we should get the Librarian Dreadnought now. And just my internal monologue is, hey, you guys took the melee Dreadnought from us. You took the Storm Raven from us.
That Storm Raven, that is a sore spot. That Storm Raven, don't
touch my Storm Ravens. Yeah. But I figure that you got yours, now we got ours. Yeah. So, and I don't personally plan on fielding stalkers or hunters. They're far less necessary now than they were before. So the hunter and stalker are there now. I don't plan to take them. I don't know that anybody really plans to use the hunter and stalker. They feel a lot less necessary now than they were before. Right. Now that flying is much less of a you can't hit me if you're shooting at me from the ground sort of thing. Yep. But I'm not sure where I was going with that other than, there's a whole bunch of new units. Yeah. Some of them look like they'd be a lot of fun. The Cataphracti and Tartaros could definitely have niches that they could fill. And the Cataphracti just look cool, so I want some.
But the Librarian though.
That's where
the Dreadnought. Yeah, the Dreadnought Librarian. You can put him in a Storm Raven plus some other dudes, right? Yep. And that's a great delivery system, but because he doesn't actually need that because he's a character. Mm-hmm. So he can be on the board.
And he can fly now again.
Yeah. So he can get moved up nice and quick. and can be there alongside a Death Company unit that deep strikes in and charges in with your Alpha Strike. But because he's a character with fewer than 10 wounds, he can't be targeted by shooting if there's a closer target. And with the new FAQ, that unit can be in combat. It can be out of line of sight. There's no restriction on which units prevent you from shooting at a character. So a close combat army is actually really benefited by this because it allows you to take advantage of cover maximally. You don't have to have them out in line of sight to protect your characters. And if you have a unit in close combat, which you want to be in close combat, you are protecting your characters as well. So this is like just the Librarian Dreadnought, just on the basis of being character, is awesome.
He's got a lot of wounds. He's got a high toughness, and with the various psychic powers that they have re-added since they were not included in the index, like the quickening in particular, which was part of the Blood Angel psychic powers just in general before. Then in 7th edition, it was just Mephiston that had it. Now everybody has it again. Librarian Dreadnought can go in and charge and like swing 7 times.
Right.
So
7 times, and it's at strength 10, minus 4 AP, and 3 damage each. That's insane.
Yeah.
That is a lot of damage. That's going to take out, like we could do the math on it, but it's going to take out a good chunk of wounds on most monsters and vehicles.
And it's wounding on 2-up against just about everything.
Right. So
yeah.
That's because it has Red Thirst.
Yep.
It has it's so good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so like I can't imagine that's not going to be a common build, is to take multiple.
I'm really looking forward to using Librarian Dreadnoughts again.
You should get more of them.
I want. Yeah. I'm just going to take the arms off my other Dreadnoughts and stick halberds on them.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I haven't used a Librarian Dreadnought in 7th edition because I was lukewarm with the rules in 7th edition on the Librarian Dreadnought, but in 8th edition, it feels like a real winner.
Yeah, I really like it. I think that's...
Yeah, the Librarian Dreadnought feels a lot more like Mephiston did in 5th edition than Mephiston does now.
Right. It's only like 150 points or so?
Yep.
So for 150 points, like, that's a bargain. That is a bargain.
There's a lot of value.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value.
Yeah. So I think that is one of the units that I'm really excited about. We're starting to run a little bit long. Is there another unit that you're really excited about, or something that you kind of want to say to wrap this up?
I wouldn't say that there's another unit in particular that I'm really excited about, because a lot of them are going to be very similar to the way they were before.
Right.
The big differences are going to be just the way that the stratagems enable them now.
Right.
And on that note, the On Wings of Fire stratagem, I love it. The ability for 1 command point to just re-deep strike one of your units.
That's good.
Yeah, just at any point in the game, during one of your movement phases. Hey, I've got my Death Company are like way in the back. They're gonna get shot full of holes. I don't have any viable charge targets. They need to get out of there, or they're gonna die. Well, now they're out of there.
Right. Yeah.
Just like that.
And like I think the stratagems are going to be. I mean, obviously they're going to be an important part of gameplay, but the fact that they are so that a lot of them are going to be useful in most situations. There's
not going to be a turn where you're going to be like, I don't think I'm going to use a stratagem.
Right. Like in other codices, it seems like there's a larger proportion of stratagems that are situational, and these stratagems seem consistently valuable.
Yep.
And because of that, you are going to want command points. And if you're building a army, I could see getting cheap battalions with scouts, because you can take scouts in Landspear Storms now, which is because of Red Thirst, not a bad thing. You can take Supreme Command attachments with Librarian Dreadnoughts, which is awesome, and then you can take maybe another battalion or a Spearhead detachment, something like that. So there's a strong incentive to get a lot of command points because you're going to want them, and
yeah, you're gonna just eat them up.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be the biggest struggle with playing Blood Angels is like living within your command point budget.
Mm-hmm, right.
It's gonna be really tempting to just blow like 3 or 4 command points, or well, 3 command points a turn.
Right. Or a phase.
Or a phase, yeah. Like I mean, there's only so many you can use, and so many of them look like they'd be useful just about every turn.
Right.
And some of them are like the kinds that you'd want to use all the time. Like the one for 3 command points where you just choose a unit that fights twice.
Right. It's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
Or the one where if your warlord is going down, or just a character is going down for whatever reason, maybe you're fighting like some big beat stick or some kind of like character Death Star, and they take your guy down. Use your command points, have him fight anyway. You know, let him get his blows in instead of just going down like a chump.
Well, you could do that and then mix it with the relic that's good against demons when you're fighting Magnus. That's pretty good. But yeah, so command points are going to be awesome. And I think that's probably going to be the name of the game. And I think you can do it. I think. Well, how many times can I say I think it's going to be good, guys? I like it. I think it works.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and that the relic, the Veritas Vitae, is going to be pretty much a must take.
The True Life.
Yeah, it's the banner.
Yep.
The Sanguinary Ancient can take it, and you basically need to take a Sanguinary Ancient now because it gives you a 1/3 chance whenever you use a stratagem to regain a command point. So you just get every Blood Angel player is going to take Librarian Dreadnoughts. Every Blood Angel player is going to take a Sanguinary Ancient because you want those Dreadnoughts and you want those command points. Yeah. So you're gonna take that, maximize that budget.
Yeah. Cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed our chat. If you couldn't tell, we're really excited about the new Codex. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that makes for fun gameplay, but also some really nice combos. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and of course, thanks for watching and happy wargaming.